When Kylian Mbappé tears away from a defensive line, the acceleration is violent. The grass shreds, the studs dig in, and the gap between him and the defender instantly turns into a chasm. During his infamous breakaway sprint against Monaco, tracking data clocked his peak velocity at a staggering 38 kilometers per hour. For context, the fastest recorded NFL speed sits around 37.2 kilometers per hour. Elite NBA point guards peak even lower. At that 38 kilometer per hour peak, Mbappé briefly eclipsed the average pace Usain Bolt maintained during his 100-meter world record dash. This data table compares the sprint characteristics of professional footballers to elite track sprinters, highlighting a biomechanical paradox. Trained for agility, footballers naturally overstride. Look at ground contact time and step length. They spend too many milliseconds with cleats buried in grass, slowing their leg cycle. Elite track stars operate differently. They maintain a severe forward lean, generating massive horizontal drive to push their center of mass straight down the track. Hitting 38 kilometers per hour while wearing studded boots, running on natural grass, and anticipating a moving ball breaks the established biological constraints of the sport. We know these numbers are exact because modern professionals wear 10 Hz GPS tracking units during matches, feeding live, fractional speed data to sports scientists on the sidelines. Speed coachers analyzing that GPS data identify specific mechanical advantages. First, Mbappé utilizes a near-flawless hip extension. That extension feeds into a power transfer that moves in a perfectly straight horizontal line through his stride. This directly mimics the anterior ground reaction forces of an Olympic sprinter, driving his energy forward rather than wasting it on vertical bounce. Because of this alignment, he minimizes the time his foot spends planted in the turf, radically increasing his overall step frequency. He bypasses the typical running mechanics of a footballer entirely, mapping the hyper-efficient movements of a track star directly onto the pitch. Generating that volume of explosive force requires a body meticulously engineered to sustain it. His conditioning routine includes lifting heavy weights 5 days a week. He targets lower body explosiveness and the rigid core stability necessary to keep his upper torso perfectly still during a sprint. To build and repair that muscle mass, he eats 6 strictly controlled meals a day, following a nutritional blueprint modeled closely on the legendary dietary discipline of Cristiano Ronaldo. His one strategic exception is a specific cheat meal, pasta carbonara. The dish provides the dense, complex carbohydrates required for immediate, combustible energy. After the exertion, he subjects his body to cryotherapy and dulacotherapy, a specialized seawater treatment, to rapidly reduce cellular inflammation and flush out lactic acid. Without this militant cycle of fueling and freezing, his hamstring and calf muscles would literally tear themselves apart under the massive load generated by his own top speed. In football, straight-line sprinting is the most common action preceding a goal. When a player moves at 38 kilometers per hour, they warp the pitch's geometry. Defenders calculate tackle angles based on standard speeds, and against Mbappé, they constantly misjudge the closing distance. To compensate, opposing managers are forced to pull their defensive lines deep, abandoning their tactical structures just to build a buffer against his velocity. International squads even deploy dedicated speedsters like Kyle Walker, assigning them the sole task of trying to mirror his movements for a full 90 minutes. He is a highly skilled footballer, but his underlying mechanics separate him from the rest of the sport. His genetic gifts, optimized track star biomechanics, and relentless conditioning combine to create a scientifically engineered sprinting machine. He is the terrifying apex of athletic evolution.